All right, today on The Explainer, we're going to do something a little different. We are going to break down the blueprint of a universe to see how one single, kind of out there idea can grow into a whole world with its own heroes, its own villains, and its own history.
You know, every story starts with a spark. For this one, it was this single image. That's it. An unlikely pair, a dog and a cat, fully armed and just chilling at the end of the world. This one picture tells you everything you need to know about the tone. It's gritty, it looks amazing, and yeah, it's a little bit absurd.
And their name? Yeah, they call themselves the Dick Buddies. I know, it's crude, it's defiant, and it's basically a giant middle finger to the apocalypse. It's humor in the face of absolute darkness. So today, we're going to peel back the curtain and see how this one image, and a really provocative name, became the foundation for an entire fictional world.
So, if you're going to build a universe from scratch, where do you even begin? Well, you start with its heart. Which brings us to Section 1, a dog and a cat. Let's meet the cynical canine and the cheerful stray who are at the absolute center of this world.
Okay, so let's meet them. This is Keychain and Flashlight. Keychain's the cool, collected dog in the bomber jacket, and Flashlight is the scrappy, battle-ready cat in the camo hat. You can just feel the dynamic right away, can't you? They're not just two characters. They're a classic odd couple, born from the fires of just trying to survive. And what makes them work so well together is that they are complete opposites. Keychain, he's the tactical brain, the ex-military canine who's seen it all and is cynical about everything. He's the steady hand. But Flashlight? He's the wild spark, the cheerful, street-smart scavenger who brings the chaos. That push and pull, the disciplined soldier and the freewheeling survivor, is the engine that powers their whole story.
Okay, so we've got our heroes, but a character is really defined by the world they have to live in, right? That brings us to Section 2, Surviving After the Fall. Now we're going to dig into the massive catastrophe that shaped them.
You know, to make an apocalypse feel truly real, you've got to give it a name. In this universe, it's known simply as the Fall. And this wasn't just one bad day. No, this was a total domino effect, a cascade of different disasters all hitting at once that just shattered civilization. Giving it that official-sounding name makes the history feel so much more established, so much more concrete.
So what exactly was the Fall? Well, the world building here gets really deep. It was a perfect storm of four things. First, environmental collapse. Think famine, resource wars, crazy weather. Then, political unrest blew up into global war and nuclear fallout. On top of that, you had tech going haywire, rogue AI, autonomous weapons. And the final nail in the coffin? Society just broke. Law and order vanished. It's this complex mix that makes the world feel so horribly believable.
In a world this chaotic, you've got to have a safe haven. For our guys, it's this old, pre-fall doomsday bunker. Look at it, with their names scrawled right over the door. This place is more than a hideout. It's a fortress. It's their base of operations, their sanctuary. Probably the only sane place left in the world.
But a world with only two, critters can feel pretty empty, right? So you've got to populate it. That leads us to Section 3, Allies and Antagonists. This is where we meet the found family that joins them. And of course, the dangerous enemies that are hunting them.
Yeah, that bunker doesn't stay a two-man or two-animal operation for long. It becomes this amazing home to a whole crew, a real found family. And you get all these specialists rolling in, like Bouncer, a bunny who's a genius mechanic, Pip, the guinea pig engineer, and get this, Hayes, a panda sniper. How cool is that? Each one brings a totally unique skill, turning the duo into a full-on, formidable survival team.
Of course, what's a hero without a truly great villain? Here, our team is up against the Steel Claws. And this isn't just one bad guy. Their leader is Razor, a ruthless wolf who lives by a survival-of-the-fittest code. He's backed by people like Vortex, a cybernetically enhanced tech specialist, and Scorn, a master of psychological warfare. This is a whole organization, a multifaceted threat that makes the stakes feel incredibly high.
Okay, let's hit pause for a second. We've got characters, a world, conflict, the whole shebang. But how on earth does a creator keep all of this stuff straight? This is where we get into the nuts and bolts. Section 4, the blueprint. We're going to pull back the curtain and see how you actually bring order to all this creative chaos.
And this brings us to the big question every writer, every artist, every world builder eventually has to ask. With all these different notes and ideas flying around, how do you keep it all consistent? The answer is an absolutely essential tool called the Series Bible. You can think of it as the single source of truth for the entire project.
And look, making one isn't some mystical secret. It's a process. It's 5 steps. First, you gather everything, all your notes, your napkin doodles, your late-night brainstorming docs. Then you structure it all into sections, characters, world rules, you name it. Step 3 is crucial. You resolve contradictions. You know, that one character backstory that doesn't make sense anymore? You make a final call. Then you populate everything and finalize it. From that moment on, this document is the law.
So you've got your blueprint. Now how do you actually make something with it? Like a webcomic or a short animation? Well, you follow a production workflow. It's pretty straightforward. You start with the script. Then you move to storyboards to see how it'll look. Then comes the actual art and animation. You layer in dialogue and sound effects. And finally, you format it and hit publish. See, when you break it down into steps like this, it's not so intimidating. All right, you have your world. You have your process. What's the last piece of the puzzle? Taking it public. That's section 5, from concept to community. This is that final, kind of scary, but totally exciting leap. Finding your audience and actually bringing this thing to life.
Let's be real. Bringing a universe to life takes resources. It takes money. For this project, the initial fundraising goal was a very specific $5,000. And that wasn't just a random number. It was a targeted goal to cover the essentials, paying for the art, funding more story development, and getting the word out with marketing. So how do you encourage people to support the project? You offer them real value back. You can see how it's done here with these fundraising tiers. For just $5, you can be a supporter and get your name in the credits. But as you go up, the rewards get cooler. Exclusive stories, early access to concept art, or even a personalized thank you video. This is how you build a real relationship with your earliest fans.
But community is so much more than just fundraising. It's about engagement from day one. That means having a central hub, like a website. It means being consistent on just a couple of key social media platforms. And this is key, sharing the behind-the-scenes stuff. Let people see the work in progress. And actually talk to them, engage with comments, run polls, do Q&As. It shows that the process itself is part of the story.
So after looking at all these pieces, the characters, the world, the creative process, the community, it brings us to one final big question. When you're building a universe from nothing, where does the real story actually begin? Does it begin with the characters trying to survive? With the broken world that's testing them? Or does it all begin with the creator? The person who just dares to build it in the first place? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.